I'm super loud. It's really early in the morning. I don't know if I'm on Eastern Standard Time or what, but here I am. So I am a freelance marketer. I did build the Give WP brand for 2.5 years, but I'm currently not building that brand. It's still the most robust online donation plugin for WordPress. And you can find out more at givewp.com. But today I want to talk about building community, because community is so crucial to everything we do in WordPress, everything that we do as people, everything that we do as teams in our workplaces. So when Michelle asked me, I thought, you know, it was kind of a thing. If you're at Iowa or watching on Facebook, I did this thing where I pulled Allison up and I showed people how you can start a conversation, because I'm the worst. If I go to a bar, will be on my Instagram, and my friend has to go, Bridget, smile, you know. I'm like, well, I don't, you know, it's hard to talk to people, you know. And so I've had to learn how to talk to people. It's not natural for me. I would probably never approach any of you out in the street at all, or talk to you during baggage claim. I don't know why everybody wants to talk to you while you're walking. Okay, so what's community? Community is something that we talk about a lot in the WordPress space. It's this ephemeral term. It feels like it's, you know, this thing you can't touch, like an atmosphere that holds in the oxygen. Like, you know you need it, but you're not really as conscious of that need unless you have asthma, or you're in Denver, or you're drowning. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be these extreme circumstances before you realize that you as a person need this oxygen. And so I just like to be a little more finite with our definitions, instead of like, I love the WordPress community. Like, I love unicorns and rainbows and stars. And, oh, I just met a person that has this most beautiful, like, star bracelet tattoo. I don't remember her name, but I met her in the bathroom, and it just reminded me, like, when I drove here last night, there's no light pollution here. There's no like signage of any kind, which is why me and my Uber driver were lost. But you can see all the stars, right? You can see the stars, and the stars are so beautiful. They have the light of their own. And is my friend with that tattoo? Okay, what is your name? Teresa. Teresa has this tattoo, and it's so funny because stars by themselves, it's just the sun. It's great, we like it, right? Especially when it's raining. But it's not as beautiful as when they're clustered together. You know, when the community's all together, it's beautiful. You've got to ask Teresa has this beautiful bracelet tattoo. I think on this arm, because this one is a compass. I can't remember. But I did talk to a random stranger in the bathroom. So that's the moral of the story. That I can learn this and you can too. So Webster has some definitions. Blah, 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 blah. I like G. G is a body of persons or common and especially professional interests scattered through a larger society. I mean, that's us, right? We're persons, and we have professional interests, right? All of us use WordPress in some way, shape, or form, or want to. Is that all of us?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're scattered through a larger society. Some people are here from Canada, some people are here from California, some people are here from, where else are you from? Do you have any other states represented in this room?
Florida.
Atlanta? We have Florida? Florida's in the house?
Virginia Beach. Pittsburgh.
Woohoo! So that's what I'm saying. So throughout, and WordPress is a different community because it is global in nature. You can meet people from Mumbai. That's one of the wapus I have on my lanyards from Mumbai. They got delivered to me in Paris. That's our community, but it feels so far away, like the oxygen. That's why I want to talk about what is it really? You're just one person, you know? How can you build a community if you're just one person? It's by having conversations. It's being next to other stars, right? Because a star by itself is a sun, it's great, but you're too hot. We can't deal with you. Okay, so you gotta be friendly, you gotta be open, and you gotta be brave. And that seems so simple, but it's so hard. And it's funny this year because this has been a crazy year for me. I spent a lot of time traveling this year, going to word camps, being behind a booth, telling you, oh yeah, this is our plugin, blah, 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 blah. Because it's all kind of a memorized thing, and I can do that. And I know that if you come to me, then you want to talk to me, so then it's okay. But if you go to the after party, I'm usually kind of like, hiding, right? How many people do that? You don't have to raise your hand, but it's cool. I do it. Sometimes, I will tell you a secret. Sometimes I hide in the bathroom, and I get ratted out. You know why? Because I'm not on the toilet, but in the bathroom. They'll go, Bridget, we know you're tweeting, so we know you're hiding out in the bathroom. You know, my phone. Like, my phone is something I can control. This is my world, right? And I started using Twitter like 10 years ago, and this is where my community was, on my phone. My mom used to make fun of me and said I have invisible friends. I said, yes, I do. And they stay in my pocket at all times. I take them with me wherever I go. And anytime I need somebody, they're right here, right? On Twitter. So I actually felt like, oh, I usually say good morning everybody, but it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and they're not going to really want me to do that. But then one of my East Coast friends, Angelina Sims, sent me a direct message. She's like, welcome to EST, good morning. It was so cool. Because everybody that you know, that you have a relationship with, they're not just random people, they're real. There's real people at the end of this thing. And I'm super passionate about doing it online. But we have to do it in person too, right? It takes a little bit of body language and courage and friendliness. So, number one, be friendly. When I was preparing this talk, I was like, what can I say that's different? Because I know my Canadians were all at Ottawa, so I didn't want to like repeat it. I wanted to repeat talks. And so I was talking to my girlfriend Julie. She's like, I'm an ISTJ, she's an ENFP. She's literally my opposite. In fact, we're probably gonna tattoo this yin and yang with our shoulders next to each other. She's yang and I'm yin, because we're that opposite. So, but we've been on this journey of being single together after being married for over 20 years. For different reasons, we're separated from our spouses. And so, I don't know what to tell you, but I started going to bars, and thanks to word camps for teaching me how to do that. I never went to a bar before I went to word camps.
You're welcome.
Just for the record. And so, but when I go to an after party, all my friends are there. So it's easy. Like, you just talk to the people that are there, and that's still hard for me, but there are people, you know there's like going to be one person you know, like Adam for Sidelock is going to be there or something. And they're like, hey, and then he'll show you somebody else, and then you'll meet Matt. And then Megan will be there, so it'll be easier. And they're like, oh, Michelle's there. Oh, I saw you in Ottawa. You know, so then you just kind of build these one person at a time. And so, like, that's how I can deal with things. One thing at a time, one conversation at a time, one friendship at a time, one moment at a time, right? So being friendly is an active thing. And my friend Julie said, because we're going to watch music or whatever, and when I watch live music, because how many people are musicians? Just out of curiosity. Yeah, there's a lot of people who code who are also musicians. So when I watch live music, I'm concentrating. And this is what my face looks like. Wait, don't make me laugh. I can't do it now, Michelle. But my face is like super concentrated because I'm looking. Who's leading? Is it the drummer that's leading? Is it the bassist that's leading? Who's everybody looking to? What is that chord? Ooh, that's an interesting riff. and I'm super concentrated, like I'm at a bar to meet people, right? So just, you can add networking event, but I haven't started doing that yet besides meetups. So I'm at a bar to meet people. Specifically, that's why I'm there, and to listen to music. But my face looks like this. So that's not very friendly, is it? And what's worse is like I'll be on my phone with my eyebrows like this. Nobody's gonna come up and say hi, okay? They're gonna be like, you're a nerd. So what does friendliness look like to you? It's open body language, right? It's a smile. It's turning, like if you sit there and you turn and go, hi. Like at the baggage claim, there was this really interesting looking person, and he kept looking at me, and I was just like, wow, you're a really beautiful person. But I just thought, what can I say? I kept rehearsing it so much that the guy left. That's how good I am at this. But I could have said like, wow, you have cowboy boots. Are you from out of town? I didn't do a very good job, but I turned and smiled, and then he said, oh, are you from the flight from Baltimore? I'm like, yeah. He goes, oh, okay, I was just wondering. Yeah, real sparks. So, I'm sorry, like, I can't not talk about my life, because that's what's happening. So, what appears friendly, sometimes you just need a little bit before somebody will talk to you, because you're just giving some kind of signal. Usually in American culture, at least in American culture, it's a smile. Because people told me when I go to France, don't smile so much. You smile too much, people aren't going to like you. So it's culture dependent, but because we're in North America, I'm going to say smile, right? And you know why this works? Now I'm going to nerd out on you. Don't let the stylish. Okay, listen, mirror neurons. We have in our brains mirror neurons that we mirror people's expressions. You know when there's a baby and you go and you smile at the baby, you're like, oh, baby! And then the baby smiles at you, and you're like, oh, he smiled at me. He didn't smile at you because he likes you. That's survival. That's biologically wired in so that we won't kill our young. So whatever you think appears friendly to you, do that. And if you need to have a Julie in your life like I do, Bridget, smile. then go with a buddy. Because a lot of us, we live on referral work. Who lives on referrals? So then you have to go to networking things, or the chamber. I just joined my Chamber of Commerce. You have to go to meetups. You have to go to WordCamps. You have to talk to people. It's hard. So try to think and be cognitive of it, just like you would when you're making a website. You make a plan. You don't just start cowboy coding, right? Right? Oh, WordPress people. That should have been more enthusiastic. Well, that's okay. You'll learn more today. So do that. Do what you know and plan and go, okay, what is it? And so, this sounds so ridiculous, but like practicing in the mirror, it helps, because when you see yourself smile, then you smile. And what happens is when you smile, your voice raises in pitch, and it sounds happy to other people. So when I was doing secretarial work, my trick was when they said, how are you? I said, fabulous. Because you can't say fabulous without a smile, like you can't say without a smile. So then when you smile, your voice raises pitch. It's all physical. There's a lot of physical that you can do, behavior modification that will help with actually how you feel. And I bet you, I double dog dare you in fact, to smile and then see how you feel. Okay, so being open, that's a little less, that's more difficult to see, but definitely body language. You know, maybe I'm cold, but it looks like I'm really mad. And it's even worse if, geez, Shanta, now I'm really, you can see that Shanta and I are not getting along now. Or, one of my favorite hobbies is to watch people interact in restaurants try to figure out what the dialogue is. Because you can tell if people are sitting away from each other, or they start like pulling their body away, or they start closing their body off, or actually turning away. Like if you're having a conversation with somebody, just I need you for a second. So Sean and I are talking, Sean and I are talking, Sean and I are talking, happy, and I start going like this. What's happening? I'm no longer, I'm trying to lead.
Sean, what did you do to her?
Right?
That's a long list.
But that's the thing, it's like, so don't be that person who is, when you're talking to somebody, look at their face. Don't be looking, oh, is there somebody else? Like, oh yeah, well, that's really interesting. I wonder if there's somebody, oh look, hi Matt. No, don't be looking. Pay attention to the person in front of you. That's being open to them. And don't say, oh wow, I really wanted to talk to Matt, but actually I'm looking for Adam for sidewalk. Hi Adam! You know what I'm saying? Like, so what's happening is people can tell you're not really interested because you're not focusing on them. You don't have to stare uninterrupted, but your body language has to be facing them, and you have to be looking and doing like some active listening. Does that make sense to everybody? So how do you know? That's when you know. If you don't know the actual, if you can't put it into words, you know because you go, you know what, I like that person. That's how it comes across, is wow, I really like that person. They're nice. Or that's a cool person, right? You're not always cognitively aware of why you like somebody, but you like that they care about you, you feel like they listen to you when they talk. They're not always interrupting you. Every time you start saying something, you just say, that's great. So what do you think of me? Enough about me. What do you think of me? So do that. So I feel like I'm not trying to talk down to anybody, but really when I started writing this, I started writing it for myself. Because now that I'm a freelancer and I don't have to work behind a booth, when I was working behind the booth, I knew what to do. Because I'm like, this is not what our plugin does. Now I'm like, oh, there's no booth, I'm naked. It feels like, it's a little scary now because I don't have that, like, I am a freelance marketer who specializes in blah, 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 and robust features, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? So like, when you start realizing that you want to do something with your business and for your purposes, now you have to like go, wow, I need to be open to somebody. And sometimes when we're scared ourselves, instinct is to close our bodies off. It's a survival, this is all biology, right? So it's not, what I would say is like two things. Try to be aware of especially your arms. And because I know I do this a lot, if I'm scared, I'll just play, I can't deal with people right now. And I'm like, where's Bridget? She's probably in the bathroom. Or if somebody is doing this, they're like, man, that person is really mean. Are they? Or are they just anxious? Maybe social anxiety? Maybe we can do more to have some hospitality for those people. WordPress developers skew introverted. We work alone for a reason. We like to be alone, the majority of this population. And because of that, we have to learn these social skills because if we self-isolate, that produces a lot of mental health issues, and that's a totally different talk. But I'm super passionate about that. Bravery, oh my gosh. It's our time situation. I'm going long. Making that decision to leave your house and come to WordCamp. Seriously, it's hard. It's so hard sometimes to go to a meetup. When I went to my Women Who WP meetup Wednesday, I did not want to be there. I was in a super funk. Because it happens. Like sometimes you're just like, I don't want to be around people. Well, guess what? One of my friends is in a super funk, and we just spent some time talking to each other afterward. People need each other. We're social animals. So somebody has to be the brave one that decides, you know what? I'm going to build this community. I'm going to build this community, whether it's part of the WordPress community or a smaller part of the community, like accessibility people, or if it's even smaller regional base, like Rochester. Am I saying it wrong? Rochester, right?
I hear you say Rochester.
Like I'm going to Rochester, like Minneapolis. I'm like, no, it's the one that it's like upstate New York. So you have to be brave, and being brave doesn't mean there isn't fear. I'm going to say this one more time. Being brave doesn't mean there is no fear. In fact, I would say it's impossible to be brave without fear. Because bravery, in the word, means you're afraid and you have to like muster up this inner courage, right? Your inner brave heart, your inner social, insert social reference here, whatever fits for you, right? So, mine are all really old. I'm on Game of Thrones. I don't know those people. I know there's a dragon involved. But figure out who resonates with you. You know, is it Helen Keller? Is it a fictional character? Is it your mom? Is it somebody you know? Be brave. Bravery is so important because it means we make ourselves vulnerable when we're talking about building community. You can't build community without building individual relationships. That's why it's building community one conversation at a time. So, like, this is funny, this Canadian row right here. So first I met Sean because of the WP crowd, and then because of that I met Megan, and then I met Andy at US last year, and then of course I met Michelle in person at Ottawa. Shanta I've known on Twitter forever, and then I met Miriam in Ottawa, and then she was in Seattle with me 2 weeks ago, and I met Allison in Ottawa, right? So like, it's not like, oh, I have all these Canadian friends, like this Canadian Bridget fan club or something, Miriam's the president. It's just that I met this one person, because I met this one person, I met this person. And I didn't even meet Sean first, I met Roy first, who's like, is he like Canadian by birth or something?
Coffee person.
Oh, okay. So I met Roy first in Los Angeles, because Sean is friends with Roy. Do you see what I'm saying? It's just one person. You only have to connect with one person. And when you connect with one person, you'll connect with more people. Right, Jonathan? Yeah. You're a Canadian in the wrong spot, dude.
I took a seat.
I know, Matt Ottawa's over there. Or is it Toronto? Okay, the key, Whitby. Okay, the key to a healthy community, a healthy relationship of any kind, working, family, dating, marriage, teams. If you work in a team, I highly recommend that you buy a book that was recommended to me by Rachel Cherry, who works at Disney, called Smarter, Faster, Better by Charles Duhigg. Just read the chapter on teams. Because it talks about a lot of research that Google did and MIT did about how we make up teams and which teams do better. But the bottom line is psychological safety. It has nothing to do with the collective intelligence. It has to do with the social norms. It has to do with two things make up psychological safety. Equality with our voice. How many people think that equality with our voice is super important in WordPress? Okay, so WordPress is an open source collaborative project that is driven by the participation of every single individual. So I'm actually a core contributor because I wrote marketing for 4.8. I wrote copy for that. So I'm not a coder, right? But I did one thing. All of us can do one thing, and then we're part of that, right? So the more, like, people are really upset about Gutenberg right now. So Morton at Seattle said, you know what? Go on GitHub and make your voice heard. Go submit an issue. Go comment on one of them or something like that. So you know what? I said, you're right. So I did. It didn't make a big difference, but our project means that all of the voices need to be heard. So being equally heard is really important for teams, for communities, for collaborative, for anything that's collaborative in nature. And people need to know that their voice is being heard, and that involves active listening also. But not just that, but it means that your voice is heard without being not evaluated, but without being condemned or judged. So the WordPress community is about inclusion and diversity. And we talk a lot about diversity of ethnicity, diversity of gender, gender preference, diversity of sexuality. What we don't talk a lot about is diversity of thought. And that's why it's really important for everyone to speak up and have their voice heard. There's a talk that Roy Saban gave at WordCamp Los Angeles in 2015 that I would encourage you to look up, where he talks about leaving WordPress to make it better. We have to have diversity of thought, because if we don't, then we all are just like penguins jumping off the cliff, or lemmings, or whatever that's the wrong analogy. That's okay. I'm not infallible. But you still love me even if I did the wrong analogy, right? Because we're psychologically safe. So in this book, he says the most successful teams where there is psychological safety, they will succeed because teammates feel, and this is really important, that they feel this. Not that you say that they feel this, but they themselves self-declare that they feel this. Do you understand the difference? Because it's very easy to say, oh, of course my teammates all feel safe. Did they tell you that? Or are you saying that? Does everybody know the difference? It's really important. It's a huge difference. You can't just decide somebody feels safe. You have to have them decide and tell you that. They feel they can trust each other, and that honest discussion can occur without fear of retribution of any shape or kind. Retribution comes in all kinds of different ways. So, people, when you have an inclusive community that celebrates and supports diversity of gender, politics, thought, even software platforms, like there's some Drupal-loving people, right? You're going to hear things you don't like. You're going to hear things that make you uncomfortable, and that has to be okay. And you have to be able to say it's okay. It's okay that you feel that way. You are entitled to that opinion, that you have a right to that. When you're brave, when you're open, when you're friendly, when you are, when Michelle is, right? When Jonathan is open and friendly, right? When we are, as individuals, are open and friendly, when we as individuals, in the relationships that we have, make people feel safe. Sometimes it means we keep our opinions a little guarded. Depends. Like, you gotta feel it out, right? So I'm not going to start talking to Nick about my feelings about the Raiders moving to Vegas Unless he thought that was a really good idea, right? I mean, I'm trying to pick something nobody cares about. Nobody cares about the Oakland Raiders, Los Angeles Raiders moving to Vegas. But some people probably are super passionate about it, right? Because sports announcers still call them the Oakland Raiders. Well, they're not. They're the Vegas Raiders. Do you know what I'm saying? So you gotta be brave and friendly and open. Who thinks they can be brave and friendly and open? I think you can too, because I know you are. Because you've been so nice to me ever since I showed up. That's it.